What's involved in making progress? How can you create momentum for yourself and get unstuck now and in the future? If you've ever found yourself feeling stuck and wondering how to make positive progress in life, then this is the episode for you, because that's what I'm talking about this week here on Let's Talk About Mental Health, the weekly podcast that teaches you how to look after your well-being. So get comfortable and let's talk about mental health. Hello and welcome to the 200th episode of Let's Talk About Mental Health, and thanks so much for joining me as I talk about making progress and mental health. I'm Jeremy Godwin, and I share practical tips you can apply immediately based on quality research and my own experience of learning to live with anxiety and depression after a breakdown in 2011 that changed my life. Each week, I teach you how to improve one specific aspect of your well-being. In this episode, I'll be talking about what making progress is and what it isn't, why making progress in life matters, and how to make progress in an effective and sustainable way. So let's talk about making progress. A couple of weeks ago, my therapist completely threw me for a loop, in a good way, when she asked me what my past self, the corporate Jeremy from 2011, as we call him in our sessions, would think about the life I have now and the work I do. And without hesitating, I said, wow. It was a genuine expression of joy and gratitude for the way my life is now, especially compared with how things were when I worked in the corporate sector, which took me by such surprise that I now have that word written on a post-it note directly above my desk to remind me as I work. It's so easy to get caught up in the day-to-day details and trivialities of our lives that we can forget to take a look back every now and then so we can see just how far we've actually come. There's a version of me from a few years ago who actively wanted the life that I have now. And sadly, I forget that fact sometimes when I'm caught up in all the day-to-day things I have to do. Since this is my 200th episode and it's released the same week that I celebrate the 4th anniversary of starting this podcast, it feels like a good time to not only look back on my own progress, but to also encourage you to do the same, while I also talk you through how to take a realistic approach to making progress in your life from this point forward without putting too much pressure on yourself or causing your own head to explode, because we don't want that to happen. The good news is that I have a bunch of tips to share, including a really simple yet effective technique that I use, and which took me from constantly rushed procrastinator to calm and in-control person in a matter of months. Yes, seriously. So let's first get ourselves onto the same page and let's talk about what does making progress mean? Making progress, generally speaking in life, means moving forward or advancing towards a particular goal or state of improvement. It's about evolving, growing, and developing in various areas of your life, whether that's personally, professionally, emotionally, or even spiritually. In the big picture of life, making progress is often tied to your personal growth, learning from experiences, and continuously striving to be a better version of yourself. It doesn't necessarily mean that everything goes perfectly or that there are never any setbacks. Instead, it's about acknowledging these hurdles and using them as stepping stones. Everyone's definition of progress might differ based on their individual goals and values. What you prioritize in life or what you want to achieve will no doubt be different to what I want or the next person, because it's unique to you and your own outlook on life and the world in general. For one person, progress might be landing a dream job or achieving a specific career milestone. For another, it could be developing a stronger sense of emotional resilience or fostering deeper relationships with the people they care about. Neither approach is right or wrong. It's just different, and it's part of learning to embrace our individuality, a topic I covered in episode 170. At its core, making progress is about your journey of self-improvement and feeling that you're continuously moving closer to your aspirations, however big or small they may be. On the other hand, what it isn't is linear. You rarely ever just start at point A and then travel in an uninterrupted straight line to point B. Oh no. Life, the universe, whatever you want to call it, seems to delight in throwing curveballs at us left, right, and center. And so progress tends to often look a lot more like all the tangled cords you probably have stuffed away in a drawer or box somewhere, so messy and interwoven and all over the place that it can be tough to figure out where one ends and another one begins. The other thing I'll say here is that making progress isn't specifically about getting to the next destination and having everything be perfectly sorted out and tied up with a nice, neat bow, because life just doesn't work that way. Perfect doesn't exist, and your to-do list, both your physical and your metaphorical to-do lists, will never be completed. There's always something still to be done or something new to adapt to. And so, in the big scheme of things, progress is actually more about moving forward and feeling that you have positive momentum in your life rather than being stuck in the one spot going round and round in circles. So now let's talk about why making progress in life matters. And it matters because the opposite of making progress is staying stuck. And that's no good for anybody. I mean, technically, the opposite of progression is regression, but since it's physically impossible to go backwards in time, share checked, and the answer's no. So that means we can either remain stuck in old ideas or memories, or we can choose to move forward one day at a time, one step at a time. Making real, measurable progress in life matters for a variety of reasons, both on a personal level and for society in general. It helps you find a sense of personal fulfillment, which feels deeply satisfying because it aligns with our inherent desire to grow, learn, and achieve. Progress acts as a fuel for our motivation. When you see tangible results from your efforts, it then pushes you to continue, try harder, and aim higher. And this cycle of effort, progress, and motivation can lead to a sustained and meaningful journey of growth, making you feel good about yourself and also improving your quality of life. It helps you to learn new skills and build your knowledge so you can be better prepared for future challenges, changes, and opportunities that may come your way. It can also help to improve the quality of your relationships, leading to deeper connections, better understanding, and mutual growth, which in turn leads to a richer and more fulfilling life. On a broader scale, progress drives the evolution of society. If you're old enough to think back a few decades, you'll be well aware of just how far we've come. Issues like sexism, homophobia, racism are all still prevalent today, but they're nowhere near what they were like in the 80s, for example, even if we still have plenty more work to do. As individuals make progress, it can lead to innovations, new ideas, and advancements that benefit the wider community. And it also serves to increase the number of people who demand positive change, which is why it's important to speak up and speak out about social issues and injustices, because the gains that we've managed so far have only been achieved thanks to people power. On an individual level, making progress contributes to your overall well-being. It can lead to better mental health, a greater sense of purpose and meaning, and increased self-worth, all of which make you feel better about yourself and which can help you to be more resilient and tackle challenges if and when they come your way. Plus, it can actually help to reduce and alleviate stress. For example, when you set goals and achieve them, that leads you to feel better about yourself and less worried about the end result. Plus, if those goals happen to be related to things that improve your overall life quality, such as financial goals or lifestyle factors, then that can have a direct positive impact as well. For me, I like to keep things simple and think about whether or not I feel like I'm actually moving forward in my life from one year to the next. I write myself a letter each year and send it using futureme.org. And no, this is not sponsored. I just like them. So then I get an email on my birthday each year from my past self, updating myself on things that I think future me would want and need to know about. Funnily enough, my last few have been more about my general outlook on life and my priorities rather than anything else, as I'm a lot more focused now on what I want my life to feel like rather than the old tools we used to use to measure success, like job, bank account, etc. And I have to say, I feel pretty good about my life. Of course, it's not perfect, and of course, there are plenty of things that could be changed or improved. But for the most part, I've managed to build a life for myself that feels really satisfying. Often, one of the biggest things that holds us back from making progress in life is fear. And in fact, that's what I'm talking about in this week's video, which is available on Spotify or on my YouTube channel, and it's linked in the episode description. And I think that we have to remember just how much good stuff can be found on the other side of fear. I mean, honestly, what's the worst that could happen if you focus on making progress in your life and pursuing your dreams? What, some people might laugh at you? I mean, I don't know about you, but to me, I don't really give a crap what people think if they're the type of people who laugh or poke fun at other people. To me, they're the sheep who are quite content to never challenge the status quo. And frankly, I have no interest in being anything like them, so I don't seek or crave their approval. If we didn't have people willing to take a risk or be an out-of-the-box thinker, the world wouldn't ever make progress. I mean, I can only imagine the conversation when someone pitched the idea of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. But they're turtles. How can they be mutants and ninjas as well? And why do they like pizza so much? Turtles don't eat pizza. And yet, somehow, that show went on to become huge, and it's still going strong today. Never let your fear that someone may think something is a crazy-sounding idea hold you back. Just go find the people who get it and double down on them. It's your life, and it's up to you to make it happen. So, how do you do that? Well, let's first take a quick break to hear from the brands who help me create this show each week. And welcome back. Now let's get into the how-to part of today's episode, and let's talk about how to make progress in an effective and sustainable way. And my first tip is to figure out what progress means to you. And this really comes back to knowing yourself and being clear on what you want as well as what you don't want. You know, the things that feel like making progress to me aren't necessarily going to be the same for you. So you've got to figure out what it is that gets you excited and what you want your life to feel like both now and in the future. Take some time to brainstorm ideas and maybe even do some research to find out more about things you're interested in. Talk to friends and mentors. Watch YouTube videos. Read. Explore. The more you learn, the more information you'll have to consider what you want. And what if you don't know what you want? That's okay. Start by focusing on what you don't want and then let that guide you. Once you know that, focus on my next tip, which is start identifying clear goals for yourself. Look, I know setting goals and getting into planning can be a bit painful because it requires you to sit down and think about things in more detail. But I promise you, it's all worth it. Consider it a little bit of short-term pain for a lot of long-term gain. Think about any specific things you want to achieve and look at what the objective of each goal will be. For example, learning a language is vague, whereas achieving an intermediate proficiency level in French is much more detailed and gives you something specific to work towards, which is something you need for my next tip, create a detailed plan. So for each specific thing you want to achieve, break it down into its smallest possible steps and identify a realistic time frame for each step. I mean, using that French example from before, if you don't know your baguette from your camembert, then it's going to take a lot longer than a week or two to reach an intermediate proficiency level. So we need to be realistic about these things. Break tasks down further into simple actions that can be accomplished by doing a little bit of work daily or weekly. If planning is something you struggle with, I covered the topic back in episode 113, so you'll find that helpful. Okay, next, prioritize. Because the reality is that you cannot possibly do everything all at once, so you need to be smart and strategic about what you do versus what you don't do. This is one of the biggest and most frequent bits of advice I give. Figure out what really matters to you in life and focus on your priorities first and foremost before anything else, even if that means you need to say no to some things. There are only so many hours in the day, and some of those need to be spent investing in the quality of your relationships, and even more importantly, making space for yourself to recharge your batteries. So you need to think about what you can realistically achieve in the time you have available. For example, some of you may remember that last year I released volume 1 of my book, Let's Talk About Mental Health. It's linked in the episode description, by the way. And I had fully intended to work on volume 2 to release this year, but life got in the way. So at this stage, that project is delayed until the first half of 2024. And that's okay, because if I stress myself out about trying to get it done sooner, I'll end up taking away from my peace of mind, which is my number one priority. And so I have to be realistic about what I can do without sending my brain into a total meltdown. Being clear on your priorities helps you to make smart choices about what you will and will not commit to. Then you can make progress in a more sustainable and considered way. Okay, next, do the work. Because you can plan all you like, but it's only a plan. It's not done until it's done, so you need to do the work. I like to have a simple plan in place that helps me see what I need to focus on weekly, monthly, quarterly, biannually, and yearly, and then I work backwards from there to get things done. That then allows me to do the next point, do a little often, which simply means taking your time and doing something every day or week to make progress. Really, this is about simplification and momentum all rolled into one. The goal isn't to put things off until they're due, but to do a little bit at a time so it makes it easier. For example, when I'm working on a book of, say, 80,000 words, then I set myself a weekly goal of writing 5,000 words over 16 weeks, which then translates into writing 1,000 words 5 days a week. If I can do more, great, I do more. Otherwise, this keeps me on track to do what I need to within the time frame I need to. Another example is this podcast. I actually create these podcast episodes over 3 days. First, researching each episode, then creating the skeleton in terms of the structure and the key points I want to make, and then writing it by fleshing out the details. If I try to sit down and do it all at once, it becomes this great big overwhelming thing that can sometimes leave me feeling exhausted. And given I produce 50 of these a year on average, plus weekly videos for my YouTube channel, I can't afford to let myself burn out. It's amazing just how much progress it's possible to make when you take things one day at a time. And always remember that slow progress is better than no progress. One way to help you do that more consistently is my next point: establish a routine, which simply means creating a consistent schedule or pattern for the tasks and activities you need to work on daily, weekly, etc. This can be really helpful because habits and routines reduce decision fatigue, ensure consistency, and can boost your productivity. I have a fairly standard routine I follow each week that allows me to balance the work involved in running the podcast and my YouTube with my one-on-one client work and all the other things I need to get done, drawing on the times that tend to work best for me. For example, I write better in the morning than I do in the afternoon. Figure out the best times for specific tasks and create a schedule for yourself, then stick to it as closely as possible so you can make the routine part of your daily or weekly rhythm. Okay, next, be clear on your why. Because continuously reminding yourself of why you're doing something helps you to stay motivated and fixed on your goals. Plus, it helps you to stay resilient in the face of obstacles. Make a note for yourself of why you are pursuing a particular goal and put it somewhere you can see on a regular basis. For example, set it as wallpaper on your phone or write it as a note stuck to the wall somewhere you'll see it regularly. This helps you to stay focused and to keep giving. Speaking of, my next point is be patient and persistent. And that means committing to your goals even when progress seems slow or when challenges arise. The thing is that, like I said earlier, not all progress is linear. And that means there will be times where it may feel like nothing is happening or even that you're going backwards. And those are the times when it's so important to remain on track and focused. When facing setbacks, take a step back, assess, and then continue forward. It may take time, but you can and will see results, even if it may not necessarily feel like it right now. And that leads to my next point. Recognize your progress and celebrate your wins. Often we get so caught up in focusing on what's next, and that means we don't always take the time to recognize just how far we've already come. Put aside some time on a regular basis, at least once a quarter or even monthly, to reflect on the progress you've made and celebrate your wins, no matter how small they might be. Positive reinforcement leads to more positive outcomes. So celebrate your progress and let those good feelings push you forward. Tracking your progress can help with this as well. I just encourage you not to get too hung up on the numbers and to remind yourself why you're doing whatever it is that you're doing. Okay, next, stay flexible. Because if there's one thing you can guarantee in life, it's that you cannot guarantee exactly what will or will not happen. Like I said before, life has a way of throwing things at us, and it's just part of the human experience. If you allow external situations to derail you, then you'll find yourself never making any progress. Be open to making adjustments in your plans and strategies when you need to, so that you can navigate any unforeseen challenges and look for opportunities. And if things aren't working for you, or you're trying everything and still not making progress, after many months or years, then that means it's time to come at it from a different angle and potentially try something different in order to make the progress that you're looking to make. Don't just do the same thing over and over again and expect a different result. I recently talked about flexibility in episode 195, so you'll find that helpful. And you can find tips on how to stop fear holding you back from making progress in my latest video. It's out now on YouTube and Spotify, and it's linked in the episode description. Because when it comes to making progress and mental health, what it all boils down to is this. You're in control of what you choose to do with your life. Will you choose to stay stuck, going round in circles and repeating the same patterns over and over again? Or will you choose to take charge and create meaningful progress in your life? The kind of progress that serves to push you forward and create a better life for yourself. I don't know about you, but I want to feel like I'm making real progress in life. And the only way to do that is to take control and do the work to actually make progress. Remember, it's not always about the destination, but the journey itself. So enjoy the process of continuous growth and be sure to celebrate your victories and recognize the lessons learnt along the way. Making progress feels incredibly rewarding, especially when you can look back and see just how far you've come. And on a personal note, I'm incredibly grateful and honored to see how far this show has come over the past 4 years. So a huge thank you to each and every one of you. And here's to many more years to come. The choice is yours, as it is with all things related to your well-being. So, what choice will you make today? Each week I like to finish up by sharing a quote about the week's topic, and I encourage you to take a few moments to really reflect on it and consider what it means to you. This week's quote is by an unknown author, and it is, "Life is all about making progress. It is never about perfection." Let me repeat that. Life is all about making progress. It is never about perfection. All right, that's nearly it for this week. Next week, I'll be talking about intrusive thoughts. You know those weird and even sometimes disturbing thoughts that can pop into your head seemingly out of nowhere every now and then? Like being at the supermarket and having a little voice suggesting you accidentally push over the egg display. No? Just me? Well, for those of us who have odd random thoughts sometimes, it can be distracting, disturbing, and even unnerving, which is why we need to learn how to manage them in a thoughtful way. So, next time, I'll be talking about what intrusive thoughts are and what they aren't, why we need to approach them mindfully, and how to manage intrusive thoughts for the sake of your mental health. I hope you'll join me for that episode, which will be released on Sunday, the 15th of October, 2023. You'll find more mental health content on my YouTube channel and in my weekly newsletter, Thursday Thoughts, plus on my 2 Instagram accounts, LTA Mental Health and It's Jeremy Godwin, where I post extra content daily. And if you'd like to support my work and get ad-free episodes and bonus content, as well as access to episodes a week before everyone else, then become a supporter on Patreon. You'll find all of those linked in the episode description and in the transcript at ltamh.com. Thank you very much for joining me today. Look after yourself and make a conscious effort to share positivity and kindness out into the world, because you get back what you put out. Take care and talk to you next time. Let's Talk About Mental Health is an independent program proudly produced by Reconnaissance Media, helping you find meaning and gratitude. For more information, visit reconnaissancemedia.com.